Hello, my friends. Welcome back to Healing Together, where we search out great stories so that we can take encouragement from them, know that God is working in our lives, and know that there are other people out there that have seen God work through some of the most difficult, trying times. I have been so excited to bring you this story. This was one of the first ones that I wanted to do. And actually, it is the first one that my sons let me kind of take over the helm and run the computer. And they were both busy when Joe and Sara could come and share. And so I ran the iPad. And of course, Grandpa kind of messed it up. So it caused Tim a lot of work. And I thank so much Tim, my son Tim, for doing the editing, and it took him hours and hours to put the story together. Someday I'll share how this whole system works and what we're doing to share these stories. I'm really excited. Philip and Tim have been very, very active in this ministry that we have. I love bringing stories together. My head just swims sometimes when we're in a conversation and someone says something, and I always want to come up with, well, I did this interview and such happened. And this is one of those interviews. And we are so excited to bring you Joe and Sara's story. Joe and Sara come out of a background of a very legalistic, very domineering denomination. And we want to share how Jesus brought them out into freedom. It is the Amish community that they come out of. They were in Bern, Indiana. They'll talk about that, which is a very conservative, very strongly driven area. So they had a real challenge to that. And they'll share how God sought them out. It reminded me of Jeremiah 29:11 through 13, and it says this, "For I know the plans that I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. Then you will call on me and come and pray to me, and I will listen to you. You will seek me and find me when you seek me with all of your heart. I will be found by you, declares the Lord, and will bring you back from captivity." That is exactly what Joe and Sara are going to share with us, how God sought them out and how God continually wooed them. Joe will share how he heard his name called and didn't even know what was going on, and God just patiently waited for him. And Sara will share how she just knew that God was doing a work in their lives. I do want to prompt you, this story begins in kind of a dark place. And so as they're looking and the void of where God is, please stay with the story, because very quickly, by the end of this next video, after this one on Friday, you're going to see some real lights come on. Joe and Sara are just fantastic people that we love, and I can't wait for you to hear what God is doing in their lives and how God is taking them on. This is going to be a 4-part video, so it's a little bit longer, and we split it up so you can get it in small segments. Please just enjoy the video. Get through this darker part in their lives. In fact, Joe even refers to it once as, I was in a very dark place, and see near-death experiences, God wooing them to himself. Just some awesome times that they are going to share with us. Watch and listen as we journey with Joe and Sara and see how God works in their lives. Please realize that this is not going to be any kind of a Amish bashing video. I wanted to be, and we prayed over it when we began it, that we would not work in a way that would be running anybody down. Please pray as you watch the video that there would be others out there that are searching for a relationship with Jesus Christ. Instead of just the church setting, that they're searching, those people who are searching, that this video would reach them. Come along. I'm going to get out of the way and let you enjoy the video, and I will see you at the end of it, and we will let you know what's going to come up for Friday, and I cannot wait for you to see it. Enjoy the video. If you haven't yet, you'll notice there's a new little subscribe button down there. Hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and turn on the notifications so that whenever a video comes up, and there will be an extra video this week, that you'll get that. Enjoy the ride, folks. Let's see what Joe and Sara have for us. Thank you. Joe, tell us about your upbringing, your home life.
Okay, so I grew up in a typical Amish home in Bern, Indiana. There's not a whole lot in my childhood. I had a decent home, and I guess my parents raised me up the best that they knew how. When I was 11 years old, my third oldest brother, he was on the way home from a wedding from his girlfriend's house, and a semi went in behind his buggy and demolished the buggy and killed him. So that was really devastating for our family. It was a dark time for me. Our parents did the best they could, I guess, teaching us the word as much as they knew. But at that age, I didn't have any understanding of what life and death really is. And looking back, it's like my mom, I can't say for sure, but I'd say her grieving, I don't think she's ever really gone through the process, and so it's that played a big role in our life. When somebody would ask her if about it, her one and only answer was "Thy will be done," and it was not encouraged for us to talk through it. So that was like that really impacted me in my teenage years. Of what was how can I say it? I'm not sure how to put it in words, but anyhow, early on, Dad put up a woodworking shop. So I used to, my first job was in the shop, and didn't care for it too much. I was okay with it. In the wintertime, but summertime, I was an outdoors guy, and days that I had to spend in the shop, I'd be looking out and be like, man, I need to get out of here somehow. Therefore, through that, me and my dad's relationship kind of spiraled downhill because of that. I got a how can you say it? What's the word?
Rebellious.
Yeah, I got rebellious during that time because I wanted to go out and do my thing and experience different things, and so yeah, our relationship wasn't too well in my teenage years. Now, as I was thinking about today and what we're doing, one of the things that came back to my memory is working in the shop. That's when God first started speaking to me. And when I say speaking, I more times than not it was just my name. I'd be working at a machine and I'd hear my name, somebody call my name, and I'd look up and look around. There's nobody there. And I could not figure out why I am hearing that or where it's coming from. And it didn't come to me until years later, after getting into the Word more and more and gaining more knowledge of the Word, that I discovered that had to be God. And so I still wonder if I would have known it back then, if I would have answered, what was he trying to get me to see or tell me. So that's something that I still wonder about.
Explain what you did for me with the Bible in your home.
Okay, so in a typical Amish home, in the community that I grew up in, it's not nearly as much as it used to be, but it still is in certain communities, and Bern is one of them, that most homes only have a German Bible. It is very much discouraged to not read anything in the Bible except in German, and it has to be King James, which I don't know that there's another script that isn't King James in the language that we grew up in. Dad had some knowledge of it. He's taught us what he knew, but from what I experience, every generation loses more and more of that German knowledge. Therefore, it's very, very limited in what we understand. It's a different dialect than what we use on a day-to-day basis. We speak some sort of Swiss language. I don't know that you can find a dialect in Switzerland that matches ours, but that's beside the point. So the Bible, being in German, we would study. The Amish have church every 2 weeks in their district. So on an in-between Sunday, if we didn't visit a church or go visit somebody else, we would sit down as a family and maybe read through a chapter of the Bible, and Dad would explain it to the best of his knowledge. And they taught us to read the German, and I picked it up. I can still read it today, but for the most part, if I'm reading it and you would ask me what I am reading, I wouldn't be able to tell you. If I wouldn't know what it means in English now, I really couldn't tell you what I'm reading. I mean, I can pick up some stuff. I can get the very, very basics of it, but that's it. And that bothered me throughout my life and throughout my walk, that I couldn't understand the word, and I knew I should understand more than I am because I'm missing out on it, and it sometimes really frustrated me. I'd pick it up sometimes, the Bible, and try reading through it, and I'd just get frustrated and put it down because there was no understanding it. And so
And they did not teach you German in school?
Not necessarily. There's a few schools in the area that would have had like maybe a 15-minute class on a Friday that they would have took maybe the 7th and 8th grade pupils and maybe had him read German for just a little bit. But that was the extent of the teaching. It was expected that the parents teach German and teach the child to understand it. But as every generation goes on, it becomes so much more evident that it's being lost. And like my generation, I know that there's guys being put into ministry that can hardly even read it, and they're expected to stand up before the congregation and have a sermon. And I can't imagine the pressure that goes with that. Like it's
How long they've been doing that? How long have the Amish been doing that?
Reading German?
Yeah. That's been.
Ever since they've existed, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
And how long have they existed?
Well, as near as I can tell, I haven't done a lot of research on it, but it's around 500 years, I think, that the where the Menno Simons and the Jacob Amen movement started out of the Anabaptists.
And the one thing that always would bug me was our prayers were in German. And we had a prayer book that we would read from every morning and every night. And then the prayers that we had to teach our kids when they were just little. One time it bothered me because they would ask me, okay, what are we saying? And then I would try to explain to them. Then I'm like, why do they have to say a prayer that they don't understand? So that part would always bug me.
So did you grow up in the same community?
I did.
Mm-hmm.
I did.
Tell us a little bit about that.
So I was the oldest of 12 children. I was the oldest, and then there were 7 boys, and then there were 4 girls. Normal childhood. I had very good parents. They took well care of us. In 2001, I think, my parents bought a country store, and they built a store onto our property. And so then we were just even more busy, you know. So when we bought the store, the twins had not been born yet. They were the 3rd and 2nd youngest. I think I was in 6th or 7th grade when we bought the store. And so there was a lot on me. I was the second mom, and I did ordering in the store. You know, as I grew older, a lot of the responsibilities fell on me. And then when I turned 15, for the summer, I worked at a produce auction in our community. I was a clerk for the auctioneer, and I also worked in the office. So I did that. Besides, we had the store. And my mom had the twins by then. And we had a very busy lifestyle.
I would say.
Very busy. Mm-hmm. Yes. So, and sometimes I think, you know, in a lot of ways, God used that time to prepare me for things now that I sometimes think, you know, I would look back and I would be like, I was not deprived of anything. I mean, I had a good home. I had, Dad took good care of us. You know, financially, we were always provided for. But we didn't have the one-on-one time with my parents that I really would have craved. But it's you look back and you see all that, and you see how you grew from that, changes that you made from that. And so I look at that as positive things. I guess I had a pretty...
So did you guys grow up in school together?
No. Joe and I did not know each other until I turned 16. And then we started dating. Joe was 18 and I was 16. And he kind of swept me off my feet.
There we go.
And then we dated for 2.5 years. And then we got married in 2008.
So where was God at in your life during up to that point in meeting Joe?
So for me, I would have this desire to know more about the Bible. I really did. And we just had the German Bible at that time, but we had like a German English dictionary. And so as when we're young, we would use a prayer at mealtime and then one at bedtime. As we got older, those prayers would change. It was a bigger prayer.
It was all recited prayers.
And so I was like, I wanted to know what I was saying. So I took a piece of paper and I wrote those words on the paper as well as I could. And then I sat down with the German English dictionary and I was trying to figure out what each word meant. But when you put it in that order, a lot of the stuff doesn't make sense because it's word for word.
Right.
And so I never quite finished that prayer. And then when I was 15, I think, I did a lot of the ordering in our store. And one of the companies that we ordered from, they had a German English New Testament. And so I ordered it. And so just like, I really can't, there's a lot of God moments because the people that I worked for at the produce auction, they were very godly Christian mentors. They really, really were. And so I think had I not been under their influence during that time, I don't know, because I had there was so much good in my childhood, but there was always a darkness. And then after we got married, we looked back and we saw all those chains, all those, the lines of things. And we discovered that I had started with depression when I was probably still in school. And I finished school at 14. So I know that, having that Bible, I would read it. And I did feel guilty when I would read it in English because it was not really expected, not really accepted. Yes. And so, like some of them would have said, you can read the German, and if you don't understand, you can skip back to the English part and see what that word means. But it's still like, because I would read something and I would be like, I think I know what it means, but I'm going to go back and check, and it would be something totally different. I can read it very well, but the understanding part is a little bit sketchy. So there's things that I look back and, if it wouldn't have been for that couple, I know that things would have turned out differently for me. So I am very thankful for those people that he put in my life. And then I think I was 17 years old when I was baptized. So in the Amish community where Joe and I grew up, when you turn 16, that's kind of when you're expected to
follow instructions.
There's a process that you go through to be baptized. So they have what the Amish wrote up years and years ago was articles of faith. And so for a full year, you go through these, and at the end, if they find there's no fault with you or whatever, then you're baptized. And it's kind of an expected time frame where you are baptized. So it's not because I wanted to, it's because it was expected out of me. But I didn't think differently. I knew I had to be baptized if I wanted to marry Joe. So, it was just part of the process. Yeah, kind of.
So were you baptized at 17?
I think if I remember right, it was when I was 17. Yes. Yeah. When you turn 16, in the culture, you for the majority of them anyhow, you're allowed to go out and hang out with other youth. Now you're told not to drink or party, but when you're 16, you're on weekends. You're pretty much on your own, and we get together, and that's what happened, and that's what happens with the majority of the Amish in that community. Is it just becomes a weekend party thing and that's who I was. That's turned 16 and
I'm out of that wood shop.
well,
Even if it's only for a couple days.
I still worked in the wood shop. I got my first job away from home, I think, when I was 17 years old, and that really helped me in my mental state. Things got better between my dad and I after that. One of the things is how can I say it? The emotional side of a human being is very suppressed. Like I don't recall ever hearing the words "I love you" in my home. And physical touch is the same way. It's no hugs or whatever, and that's an experience I want to learn from and grow. But looking back, it's what I told myself after we got married and started having children is I want my children growing up knowing that they're loved. So I try to make a point to be intentional with that. But yeah, it's I lived for weekends, started drinking and partying, and that was my life. It starts your instructions normally start when you're 16, 17 years old in church, and that's when you're turned loose with the youth. And so it never made sense to me. Like I knew what I was doing was not biblical, but there was no other structure for me to follow. So so even up to the baptismal, life doesn't change. And after that, I got baptized, and next weekend we're out there drinking and partying again. But I met my wife, or my girlfriend then, and we started dating, and it's some of it's a blur to me. I don't know, maybe it was because of all the emotional stress that I was under, maybe.
What about you, Saretta? 16? Were you out partying? Mm-hmm. Were you?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I was just with them.
So you weren't, you weren't working hard enough that it kept you out of that, huh?
I think it was an outlet, really. I wasn't really into drinking. I did occasionally, but it wasn't really my thing. But I wanted to add that when he said that, so they say to not drink, and my parents would, they would discourage that. They never outright said I can't, but they would just kind of say, but there was nothing else provided for us. It's all the can'ts, and no, you can do this. There's if you have can'ts, you have to have some cans.
Mm-hmm.
You have
Absolutely.
to. So there was, that's what was available for us, really.
Now, when you say hang out with the kids, with the youth, was that Amish youth?
Mm-hmm. Just
English?
Amish.
Just Amish.
Mm-hmm.
So you still were separated.
Oh, very much.
For the most part, the majority of them, yes. There's a few groups that, or maybe one group that allowed non-Amish to come in and party with them. We didn't hang out a whole lot with them every now and then, but in that culture, there's so many divisions in the church there that we were some of the lower class, less liberal, and then the more liberal ones, some of those would drive and let non-Amish come in and party. But as far as in the group that we hung out with, it was strictly Amish.
So in the Amish community where we come from, there's a lot of divisions. Lots of divisions. And so, for instance, one of my aunts, she married a guy on this side of the fence. And as a result, they've been married for 33 or 34 years, and she's been shunned ever since. Because she married on the wrong side of the fence.
But he was Amish.
He was Amish, and they're still Amish.
Yeah.
But she's shunned for the rest of her life.
So how did you meet?
It was at a wedding. It was typical Amish wedding, I guess. Lots of alcohol involved, and I saw her a few times before that, and she caught my eye.
I tried to catch his, but I just assumed that he didn't see me.
But yeah, we were out there, and one thing led to another, and I asked her to go out on a date for me, and that's.
I was tooken. I guess we both were tooken.
But yeah, and we had a good relationship starting out.
We did, but I think that the lack of the emotions that we are able to express in the Amish culture, it's just because it's always been that way. There are barriers in every relationship because you don't know how to express your relationship. You don't know how to express the love that you feel for your mom, your dad, your spouse, your kids. I mean, we were showing love, but there's also that, expressing it. And that can come in words more than just I love you. But I think that was a barrier between Joe and I, because even though we loved each other and we said we loved each other, we did not experience that love, that connection, until we were probably married for 4 or 5 years.
Did you hear I love you at home?
No.
No. So it's the same.
I think that's pretty...
That it's pretty common in the area that we grew up in. Now, since we used to live in a more liberal community, our eyes were open to another dimension of it, I guess. And there's a lot of people in that area that are their emotional.
Their emotions are able to be used. They're able to express emotion.
They're not as
closed off,
or however you want to say it.
We moved to Shipshewana. That's what he's talking about. After we moved to Shipshewana, our emotions, we were able to be more free with our emotions.
Was that all a more liberal community, or was that you were out from underneath your parents?
It was a more liberal community, but it was also, so we got married in 2008, and then in 2008 there was a new community, Amish community started close to Muncie, Indiana. And we were some of the first ones to move. I think there were 6 of us, 6 families that moved at the same time. And we were just, our own little community. We were an hour and a half from the Burn people. We lived there for 8 years. And we had good times there because it was just like one big family. But then when we moved to Shipshewana, we had no one. Like, there was no one really that we knew. I had an aunt and uncle then that did not live very far from us, but it was a very growing time for Joe and I because we had each other to lean on, no one else. And that's when we started letting God into our lives.
Well, we should probably back up to the...
Jumping ahead there, but...
Yeah. So we got married, typical Amish wedding. I don't, quite frankly, don't remember much of the day. I'm not sure why, but I guess it was just all the emotional stress. It's like the families are expected to do everything at their own wedding. Like our parents and siblings, like everything revolves around them, and the family is expected to make the wedding.
Prepare the food, provide a place. Like, so it was at my house because the bride's parents are the ones who usually host. And so our whole house was emptied of furniture, except the bedroom. And there was tables set up in every room. And then we had the store, and so the cooks were outside in the store. That's where they prepared the food. And so it was just, leading up to it, everything that it involved, cleaning everything, preparing room, and getting the food ready. It was a lot of work. And I was the oldest. When we got married, I was 19 years old, and my youngest sister was 11 months old. So there was so much work going into it that by the time that day came, it was just like crash. I think for all of us, for my whole family.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure.
I didn't wait for my wife though. We broke it in right away. There was a few people sick at our wedding. Some of them couldn't make it, and that night, early in the morning, I guess it was, I woke up and I didn't have time to make it to the bathroom. So I rolled over and
He
threw up on the floor, and that's when my wife really became my wife, I guess, because she cleaned it up.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess reality set in right away. But yeah, after that we moved into my parents'. There was a little, kind of like an apartment attached to their house. We moved into for a few months, and then we bought a property in the Muncie area, in the new community. My wife became pregnant right away, and very sick, in bed more than not. We bought a property, and then the economy crashed. Like, it wasn't right away, but soon after that, we had our first child. The economy went down, and the stress really was put on me then, because didn't have a full-time job. At the job I did have, I didn't know when I was going to get paid or how I was getting paid, and so therefore we almost immediately started getting behind on our payments on the house, and had our first child, and everything went good then with our first one. Got pregnant again right away. Decided to have a home birth, and
to save on money.
Yeah, because we were really struggling with our finances because of the economy, and didn't have the best paying job.
What were you doing?
construction.
Okay.
Yeah. There weren't very many options out there. I couldn't just walk off my job and onto another one. So I kind of had my hands tied on what I could do. So therefore, even though I didn't get paid every week and didn't know if I was going to get paid the next week, I still went to work, because I guess in my mind is, if I put in the days, if once I receive the money, then it'll help us out. But we still struggled and just fell behind. So we decided to do a home birth, since the first one went all right. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah.
Well, that's where we're going to stop and take a break. Thank you for watching our video. Next time we're going to hear of Sarah's near-death experience, and Joe is confronted with the difference between the religiosity that he knew he didn't care for and a personal relationship with Jesus Christ. Please come back and join us on Friday for the second part of this 4-part video, and begin to see how God brings everything together. Joe and Sara are a beautiful couple, and they have a story that you are not going to want to miss. If you're in the first part of this story and you would like to contact somebody, you're stuck someplace that you are not happy with, you want to know more about what it is to be a Christ follower, or what it is to be free in Jesus Christ, then please leave a note in the comments or email us at healingtogetheryt@gmail.com. That's healingtogetheryt, which stands for YouTube, healingtogetheryt@gmail.com, and we will make contact with you. God bless you. Thank you for watching. Welcome back on Friday. And if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, and we look forward to seeing what God has for us on Friday. Thank you so much, my friend, for watching.